Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to take a journey through history, into the heart of the Roman Empire, where summer heat wasn't just a challenge, it was an inescapable part of everyday life. Picture yourself standing in the center of Rome, surrounded by towering marble buildings, vast public squares, and thousands of people bustling about, each preparing for one of the biggest festivals of the year, the summer festival. But don't forget, this is also when temperatures can soar past 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and that heat wasn't just a weather condition, it was a matter of survival. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like to share your experience, don't forget to drop your location and local time in the comments below. Now, go ahead and turn off the lights, maybe switch on a fan for some gentle white noise, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. In the Roman Empire, summer wasn't just a season, it was a test of endurance. The heat wasn't simply a backdrop to daily life, it was woven into every story, every celebration, and most importantly, into the very strategies people used to survive. The Romans understood that one way to stay mentally refreshed was by immersing themselves in summer festivals, not just as a form of entertainment, but as a practical escape from the oppressive heat. These festivals took place year-round, but they truly blossomed in summer. People came from all corners of the empire to participate in events like chariot races, dancing, music, and athletic competitions. One of the most iconic festivals was Ludi Romani, Rome's grandest celebration, held to honor the gods and Roman mythology. During this event, gladiator matches were staged under the blazing summer sun in colossal arenas like the Colosseum. Yet behind the revelry was a deeper purpose. These public spectacles gave Romans a way to release stress and restore morale, especially in the evenings when the sun had set and the air began to cool. Beyond the bustling festivities, Romans also had clever ways to beat the heat at home. You've probably heard of the domus, the classic Roman house. But did you know they were designed with heat in mind? These homes featured thick walls, sloped roofs, and small windows to block direct sunlight. Many included an impluvium, an indoor water basin that not only collected rain but helped cool the interior space. Of course, not everyone had the luxury of such architecture. A large portion of Rome's population, especially slaves and lower-class citizens, lived in cramped, poorly lit quarters with little airflow. They found their own ways to cope, gathering under shaded porticos in public squares, or seeking out communal bathhouses at the end of the day to lower their body temperature. These small but essential tactics were key to surviving the brutal Roman summer. Day in the sun. In the cultural and social but helped cool the built on a large... We've talked about how the Romans used festivals to cope with the heat of summer, but we can't ignore the incredible structures they engineered to survive these harsh conditions. When you think of the Roman Empire, you probably picture monumental landmarks like the Colosseum, aqueducts, and public bathhouses. But one of the most fascinating aspects of Roman architecture was how these buildings were designed specifically to endure and manage summer heat. From the earliest days of the empire, the Romans understood that climate was a critical factor in the success of any major construction. As a result, they developed smart building techniques to keep their structures cool, not just during the summer, but year-round. A key element of Roman design was natural ventilation. Roman homes and public buildings were built to take full advantage of airflow and shade to regulate temperature. Their roofs were often sloped and made with lightweight materials like wood or thatch, which absorbed less heat from the sun. This significantly reduced heat buildup and helped keep interior spaces more comfortable during the hot months. Another essential feature of Roman infrastructure was the public bathhouse, which you may already be familiar with. These weren't just for hygiene. They were an important part of Rome's heat management strategy. The baths, typically built from stone, retained warmth in winter but felt cool and soothing in summer, making them a perfect place to unwind and beat the heat. One of Rome's most important innovations was the aqueduct system, a brilliant network that transported fresh water from distant sources into cities. These aqueducts didn't just deliver drinking water, they also played a key role in cooling the urban environment. As water flowed through these systems, it helped reduce the air temperature and kept living spaces more breathable and livable. Another architectural highlight was the domus, the private homes of the Roman elite. These residences were built with thick overhangs, narrow windows, and central courtyards that featured skylights and shaded gardens. The thick stone walls helped insulate the interiors from external heat, while the courtyard created a natural cooling effect that allowed nobles to enjoy the summer in relative comfort. Of course, not everyone had access to such well-designed homes. Lower-class citizens and enslaved people lived in far harsher conditions. Many were packed into small, poorly insulated rooms with little protection from the sun. To stay cool, they often had to seek shade in public areas, under the columns of city squares, or take advantage of public baths to cool down after a long day. While wealthy Romans could retreat to their luxurious villas, the poor had to get creative. Some slept beneath large trees in public parks, while others found temporary shelter in markets, taking advantage of shade cast by vendor stalls. What's most remarkable is that the Romans still managed to build some of the greatest architectural feats in history, despite the intense heat. Their techniques for adapting to the summer climate didn't just improve quality of life. They set lasting standards in the world of architecture. These structures have endured for millennia, not just because they were solidly built, but because they were intelligently designed to withstand extreme weather conditions. Sweltering summer months. We've talked about how the Romans built solid structures to combat the summer heat, but just as important was their creative use of natural cooling techniques. While Roman technology and architecture were highly advanced, sometimes, especially during sweltering days, nature itself became their most effective ally. The Romans didn't rely solely on buildings to shield themselves from the heat. They cleverly used natural elements, shade, wind, and water, to cool their surroundings. One of the simplest and most effective methods was taking advantage of cool breezes to ventilate living spaces. Roman homes were often designed to capture and maximize airflow. Windows and doorways were positioned to create natural cross-ventilation, and many homes featured large open courtyards that allowed air to circulate freely, creating a cool, pleasant atmosphere indoors. A great example of this was the use of atriums, small garden courtyards placed between rooms. These spaces not only provided shade, but also served as quiet retreats where people could relax during the hottest parts of the afternoon. The roofs of Roman houses were typically sloped to reduce direct sun exposure, helping to keep indoor spaces cooler throughout the day. Beyond private homes, public spaces like squares, temples, and even bathhouses were also designed to maximize shade and airflow. Roman temples, in particular, featured massive stone columns, which not only held architectural importance but also provided generous amounts of shade. These shaded areas helped cool the air and offered passers-by relief from the intense summer sun. Surprisingly, the Romans also used water as a form of cooling, often in ingenious ways. As mentioned earlier, aqueducts, massive water channels that supplied cities, did more than just provide drinking water. As the water flowed through public spaces, it helped reduce surrounding temperatures, creating cool microclimates where people could rest during hot days. Areas near these channels became natural gathering spots in the summer. Another widely practiced method was bathing. Public baths were extremely popular, and not just for cleanliness. These bathhouses served as communal havens where people could relax and escape the heat. Fed by cool water from aqueducts, the baths offered refreshment and rejuvenation after a long day in the sun. One of the most elegant examples of water use was found in the water gardens of aristocratic villas. Built outside the city, in cooler rural areas, these villas often featured streams, ponds, and small waterfalls that created tranquil, green environments. Roman nobles could retreat to these gardens, soaking in the serenity and shielding themselves from the blazing summer heat. Water wasn't just used in grand gardens. Romans also used simple tricks like applying cold water to the skin or soaking in cold plunge pools. Some historical sources even mention the use of mountain ice, transported from higher altitudes to chill food and beverages during the summer months. This shows just how resourceful and proactive the Romans were in using natural resources to deal with extreme weather. Another delightful detail: Romans loved using herbs and plants to create refreshing summer drinks. Herbs like mint, basil, and parsley were mixed into beverages to cool the body. These herbal infusions not only quenched thirst, but also brought a sense of relief and comfort during the peak of the summer heat. So, while the Roman Empire faced scorching summers, its people didn't just rely on architecture to survive. They embraced a wide range of natural cooling solutions, from breezes and shade to water and herbs. In doing so, one of the most important ways the Romans coped with the summer heat was through their diet. While they used physical methods to cool down, they also relied heavily on what they ate and drank to stay healthy and refreshed during the sweltering months. The Roman summer diet was quite unique, featuring foods and beverages that either warmed or cooled the body while providing enough energy to stay active throughout the day. fresh fruit was among the most popular choices during summer. The Romans loved grapes, melons, plums, and apples, especially those that could be served cold. Watermelon, known for its cooling effect, was a favorite on hot days. Romans often ate fresh fruit after meals to soothe the body, replenish fluids, and boost energy. These fruits didn't just cool the body, they also provided essential vitamins and minerals needed for staying healthy in the heat. Another widely consumed dish was pulse, a simple porridge or soup made from barley, beans, or other grains. Despite its simplicity, pulse was highly nutritious and offered the energy needed to endure the heat. Romans typically ate it for breakfast or lunch, often flavored with olive oil, herbs, and sometimes meat or fish. It was light, easy to digest, and perfectly suited for summer. In addition to fruits and grain-based dishes, honey was used as a natural sweetener in place of sugar and was also a common ingredient in medicinal remedies. Beyond adding flavor, honey had antibacterial properties that helped the Romans ward off digestive issues and infections, which were more common during hot weather. When it came to beverages, one standout summer favorite was diluted wine. Wine wasn't just for feasts and ceremonies. It was also used to cool down during scorching days. Romans would mix wine with cold water and sometimes add herbs or honey to create a refreshing, hydrating drink. This concoction helped the body relax and recover after a long day under the sun. Other summer beverages included fruit juices and herbal infusions. Juice from pears, apples, and other water-rich fruits offered a great way to stay hydrated and replenish nutrients. Romans also used herbs like mint and basil to cool their bodies. They made herbal teas, or simply added herbs to cold water for a natural, refreshing way to beat the heat. Another interesting aspect of Roman life was how they handled their drinking water. Water from aqueducts, fed by natural springs, was considered the cleanest and coolest. However, not all cities had easy access to these sources, especially rural areas. In such cases, water was stored in large cisterns and kept cool using natural methods like stone coverings or wooden barrels. These methods ensured a reliable supply of drinkable, cool water during the hottest months. For the upper class, summer was a time for lavish banquets featuring light dishes and cool drinks. These events often lasted all day, with decadent meals and refreshing beverages keeping guests comfortable and entertained. While the wealthy could host such grand affairs, the lower classes found comfort in more modest meals shared in public spaces, where simple food and cool drinks were accessible to all. Interestingly, while Roman nobles dined on delicate cuisine and refined beverages, the lower classes often turned to street vendors and small food stalls. There, they could buy portable, affordable meals like bread, bean soup, and fresh fruit. These grab-and-go foods were perfect for people working outdoors, helping them maintain energy and stay cool during a long, hot day. Water is essential to any civilization, and for the Roman Empire, it wasn't just a source of life. It was the key to surviving the scorching summer months. While we can simply turn on a tap today and enjoy a glass of cold water, access to drinking water in ancient Rome was a strategic necessity, especially during the brutally hot summer season. In densely populated cities like Rome, where temperatures could climb above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, a lack of water could be catastrophic, potentially leading to widespread illness and even death. To combat this, the Romans developed advanced engineering techniques to manage and distribute water, not just for drinking and hygiene, but also to cool public buildings, bathhouses, and residential areas. They built massive aqueducts to transport fresh water from distant springs into the heart of the city. These structures stretched for miles and were among the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world, supplying clean water to millions throughout the empire. But aqueducts did more than deliver water for daily use. They played a crucial role in Rome's summer heat defense strategy. Water flowed through public fountains, baths, and city infrastructure, cooling the air and providing comfortable spaces where people could relax and escape the heat. In Roman temples, water was also seen as a symbol of purification, helping maintain fresh air and a pleasant atmosphere for worshippers. During summer, Romans placed a high priority on efficient water use. Large cisterns were built just outside city walls to collect rainwater, which was then kept cool using natural methods such as stone coverings or layers of leaves. For Romans, water wasn't just a resource. It was part of daily life and survival, helping to regulate body temperature and protect public health during heat waves. One striking example of Rome's water wisdom is the public bathhouse. These weren't just places to get clean, they were cooling hubs. Each bathhouse featured carefully engineered plumbing that channeled cold water into its pools. After a long, hot day, citizens would gather there to relax and cool their bodies. However, not everyone had equal access to clean water. People living in rural areas or on the outskirts of major cities often struggled to find safe, reliable sources. They depended on wells, rivers, and springs, and to keep these sources unpolluted, the Romans implemented careful designs for wells and reservoirs, ensuring long-term access to clean water. An especially fascinating fact is that the Romans even found ways to cool their drinking water. They imported snow from distant mountain regions or harvested natural ice from quarries. This ice was stored in stone-lined chambers, where it could be used to chill water and preserve food during banquets and important events. The luxury of cold drinks in the summer wasn't just indulgent. It was a testament to Roman ingenuity. The Roman elite, in particular, took advantage of water in creative and luxurious ways. In their villas, often located in cooler suburban areas, large pools, ponds, and winding streams were integrated into lush gardens. These spaces weren't just decorative. They served as tranquil retreats. You've probably heard about the elegant garments worn by Roman nobility. But have you ever wondered what ordinary Romans wore to survive the scorching summer months? With temperatures often rising above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, clothing wasn't just about fashion. It was essential for staying cool and comfortable, even if Roman attire looked quite different from what we wear today. When we picture Roman clothing, we often imagine loose, breathable garments like the tunic or stola. These were typically made of linen or cotton, materials that absorbed moisture and helped cool the body when exposed to sunlight. Though simple, these outfits were surprisingly effective in keeping the wearer comfortable during hot weather. The tunic was the most common outfit, worn by both men and women. For men, it was usually a knee-length or longer shirt made of lightweight fabric, allowing the body to breathe without feeling restricted in high heat. It was tied at the waist and came in short or long-sleeve variations, depending on personal style and need. For women, the primary garment was the stola, a long, flowing dress often worn with a palla, a long draped cloth similar to a shawl or outer cloak. These outfits were basic but ideal for summer, thanks to their light materials and sweat-absorbing properties. However, not everyone could afford these comfortable fabrics. The lower classes and slaves often wore rougher, coarser materials that were far less breathable. but they still had to endure the same intense heat as the wealthy. Even though summer clothing may have seemed simple, Romans paid close attention to color and design, both of which often signified social status. Nobles, officials, and military commanders wore garments decorated with embroidered edges or specific patterns, often made from fine wool or silk. These weren't just functional, they were also symbols of power and wealth. Interestingly, hair and jewelry were also part of summer attire. Women often styled their hair in braids or buns to keep it off the neck and face during the heat. Noble women adorned themselves with necklaces and bracelets made of gold, silver, or precious stones, showcasing their elegance and status. These accessories were not only decorative, but also helped accentuate their identity and class. For men, especially those engaged in combat, like gladiators or soldiers, appropriate attire for Rome's tropical-like climate was crucial. Gladiators, for example, wore specialized outfits that allowed for freedom of movement, while also providing protection. These garments were often made of leather or lightweight but durable materials, designed to protect while minimizing heat retention. Beyond clothing, footwear also played a critical role in beating the heat. Romans typically wore sandals made from leather or natural fibers, which allowed for ventilation and comfort in the blazing sun. These sandals weren't just practical, they enabled mobility and flexibility for long days of walking or working. Here's an interesting detail. While clothing was essential for managing the heat, laundry practices also mattered. Romans were meticulous about keeping their garments clean and fresh, especially in summer. They used natural soaps made from herbs and clay, and dried clothes under the sun to speed up drying while maintaining the fabric's crispness and freshness. Regardless of how harsh the conditions were, the Romans understood how to use clothing, accessories, and natural materials to adapt to summer heat. Their approach to attire wasn't just about one of the most effective ways the Romans managed to survive the sweltering summer heat was by adjusting their daily routines. While today we might work under the sun with little trouble, ancient Romans had to develop specific strategies to cope with extreme temperatures. They structured their days around avoiding the midday sun, a practice that wasn't limited to laborers but was adopted across all social classes. The first line of defense against the heat was simply changing the working hours. For those working outdoors, such as farmers or craftsmen, the bulk of their labor happened early in the morning, when the weather was still cool. By late morning, when the sun grew intense, work paused. Midday was reserved for rest, often in shaded spots like under trees or within homes built with protective overhangs. This break wasn't optional. It was a cultural norm. Beyond adjusting work schedules, midday naps became a key part of surviving summer. Known as a common practice among laborers, even Roman elites embraced the ritual of afternoon rest. People would retreat to shaded or covered areas, where the air was cooler and more comfortable, allowing their bodies to recover after a morning in the sun. In fact, during the summer, the siesta became an essential part of daily life for many Romans. Another notable habit was shifting mealtime to the evening. Because daytime heat could be unbearable, the Romans often hosted dinners and feasts after sundown, when the air was cooler. These meals were more than just nourishment. They were social gatherings. Dinners could last from dusk to late at night, filled with abundant food, wine, and fresh fruit desserts. It wasn't just about relaxation. It was a way to reconnect and unwind, mentally and physically, after a scorching day. Roman homes also included dedicated spaces for relaxation, especially during the hot months. These rooms often featured narrow windows to reduce sunlight and open skylights for ventilation. Wealthier homes had luxurious lounges, decorated with plants and equipped with leather seating and soft rugs designed to maximize comfort and keep the heat out. Mental health also mattered. Rest wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Romans knew the importance of unwinding after sunset. Evenings were often filled with music from lutes and flutes, casual storytelling, poetry contests, and intimate conversations, many of them revolving around mythology or daily life. These moments helped people decompress and bond, offering a peaceful contrast to the daytime heat and chaos. Interestingly, the Romans also developed public entertainment traditions tailored to summer evenings, such as chariot races and gladiator games. These events were usually scheduled for late afternoon or evening, once the worst heat had passed. Chariot racing, especially, was a beloved sport during festivals, drawing crowds who were eager for excitement and a break from their daily grind. While summer posed real challenges, the Romans rose to the occasion with structured days, communal evenings, and purposeful rest. By adjusting their rhythms, they didn't just survive the heat, they found ways to thrive in it, creating a sustainable and comfortable summer lifestyle that was as strategic as it was social. The birds from your dreams still linger when you wake. Not their feathers or faces, but their weightlessness. You feel lighter somehow, as though the pouch under your pillow had drawn something out during the night. Or maybe the fennel tea had worked after all. But just as you settle into the warmth of your blankets, you wince. A headache, not the dull kind. This one is pointed, insistent, like a small knight is jousting behind your eyes. You sit up slowly. The world tilts. Your neighbor, with her gift for perfect timing, calls through the door. "You're overthinking again," she says. "It's all trapped in your skull. Come on, we're going to see the tree panner." You blink at her, eyes heavy. "The what?" She smiles gently, as if you've asked her to explain rain. The one who opens heads to let the bad thoughts out. Before you can object, you're walking through the quiet fields toward a mossy cottage near the edge of the woods. It's low, half hidden by vines, with windows clouded by time. The sign above the door reads simply, "Cleansings of the Mind." Inside, the room smells of chamomile and something metallic. The woman who greets you has hands that are calm. Her eyes are sharper than the tools she carefully unwraps. "You've been carrying too much," she says, as if you've already confessed everything. Sometimes the pressure builds. The mind has nowhere to stretch. That's when we open it, just a little. She gestures toward a long wooden bench. You hesitate. She smiles. "We don't always cut." You lie down slowly. She places a small lavender-stuffed cloth beneath your head and a pebble between your palms. "Hold this," she says. "It helps you stay in your body." She begins the inspection. Fingers press gently around your temples, your jaw, the base of your skull. She hums softly, as if listening for echoes in a cave. "There's a tension here," she murmurs. "You've been thinking too much with your left side." You didn't know that was possible. She begins to work, not with blades, but with pressure and herb-soaked cloths. She rubs your forehead with oil that smells of mint and something like pine needles. Then, she gently places a smooth, warmed stone just above your eyebrows. You breathe. Somewhere in the corner, a small fire crackles. Dried rosemary pops in the heat. There were times, you've heard, when trepanning meant actual holes, drilled or scraped into the skull to release the so-called demons within. In truth, it may have relieved swelling from head injuries. Or perhaps it was symbolic, an act of surrender, of letting go. But here, in this quiet room with your headache gently unwinding beneath warm linen and soothing murmurs, you suspect it's less about the skull and more about the silence. She wraps your head in a strip of soft cloth and hands you a small blue bead. Keep this with you. It will remind your thoughts not to take over. You thank her and step outside. The sun feels softer now. Your headache has dulled to a whisper. You walk home with a lighter step and a curious sense that something has shifted. Not broken, not removed, but realigned. That night, you place the bead beneath your pillow and sleep with one hand resting gently on your crown, just in case your thoughts get ideas again. You do not dream of birds. You do not dream at all. Summer in the Roman Empire was not just a time for leisure, relaxation, and festivals. For soldiers and warriors, it was a true test of endurance, especially since war didn't wait for cooler weather. During the peak summer months, temperatures could soar beyond what many could bear, and fighting under the scorching sun was a major challenge for both troops and their commanders. Yet summer warfare was an essential part of Rome's military strategy, and battle tactics had to be adapted to cope with these extreme weather conditions. Throughout its history, the Roman army had to endure searing summer heat while campaigning across vast regions, from Europe to North Africa and the Middle East. Roman warriors, particularly gladiators and legionnaires on foreign campaigns, often had to contend not only with enemy forces, but also with the punishing heat of their surroundings. One of the biggest dangers of fighting in the heat was dehydration. Without enough water, soldiers' strength would quickly deteriorate, making sustained combat extremely difficult. The Romans understood that maintaining hydration was critical to battlefield endurance. To address this, they developed strategies to ensure that troops had access to water, including the construction of aqueduct systems and the efficient distribution of water to remote or frontline areas. Roman soldiers were trained to fight under hot conditions, but they also learned to adjust tactics to reduce heat-related stress. One common method was scheduling battles in the early morning or late afternoon, when the temperatures were more manageable. This helped them avoid the sweltering midday sun, when physical endurance would be at its lowest. Interestingly, even in wartime, the Romans found ways to implement traditional cooling methods. Soldiers wore lighter armor designed to absorb less heat, and they relied on light meals and refreshing drinks while marching or in combat. These small adjustments helped prevent heat exhaustion and allowed the troops to sustain their stamina throughout battles. In gladiatorial contests at the Colosseum, where fighters battled under harsh conditions, the heat of summer was a constant factor. Though these were not actual wartime engagements, the physical and mental stress mirrored that of real combat. Gladiators had to learn how to adapt to the heat, conditioning their bodies to avoid overheating and collapse during long matches. Roman troops also had to deal with hostile terrain, especially in arid zones like deserts or dry plains. A key example is Egypt, where extreme heat posed serious risks to Roman soldiers. When campaigning in such environments, they wore armor built to withstand the heat and sought shaded battle positions or marched during the coolest times of day, dawn or dusk. The reality is that heat wasn't just a discomfort. It could alter the outcome of entire battles. Historians still debate whether extreme heat played a deciding role in key Roman conflicts. For example, during the Battle of Zama in 202 BC, some argue that the Carthaginian forces were weakened not only by Roman strength, but also by the relentless heat of the North African climate. Ultimately, when it came to fighting in the summer heat, the Romans' greatest weapon was discipline and organization. One of the key factors in the success of the Roman military was its ability. When the summer heat blanketed the Roman Empire, people didn't rely solely on physical cooling methods or refreshing drinks. One of the most beloved and widespread practices was public bathing. Roman public baths were far more than just places to get clean. They were vital social hubs where people could relax, socialize, and cool their bodies after a long, hot day in the sun. These public baths not only served hygiene needs, but also played a crucial role in the cultural and social life of the Romans. Built on a large scale and equipped with full amenities, from spacious pools to steam rooms, these baths offered citizens a way to unwind and recover their energy during the sweltering summer months. Public bathing was a shared experience where the wealthy and the poor could meet, chat, and even make new acquaintances in a relaxing environment. Every Roman bathhouse featured a cold bath, frigidarium, a warm bath, tepidarium, and a hot bath, caldarium, each designed to help cool or relax the body in different ways. During the summer, when the outdoor heat could be overwhelming, the cold baths became a particularly popular place to refresh and soothe the body. For Romans, a visit to the baths was not just about cleanliness. It was a moment of calm and recovery after a tiring day. Beyond bathing, the bathhouses also included steam rooms where people could sweat out stress and recover from the summer heat. Heated by steam, these rooms helped relax muscles, reduce fatigue, and improve blood circulation. Benefits especially important for those who worked outdoors or engaged in physical activity during the day. Remarkably, Roman baths weren't just for adults. They were also places where children could play. Bathing areas were divided into sections, allowing kids to enjoy the shallow pools while adults lounged in the larger ones. These spaces became a community center of sorts, where families could spend quality time together, reinforcing social bonds. In reality, these public baths contributed not only to personal hygiene, but also to public health. The pools and steam rooms helped reduce stress, cleanse the body, and provided a clean communal space in a time when access to fresh water wasn't guaranteed for everyone. In that sense, public baths were part of Rome's water supply system, giving citizens a vital way to stay healthy during the hot season. One of the more fascinating aspects of Roman bathhouses was their elaborate design. Walls were often decorated with murals depicting mythological scenes, battles, or everyday life. So, beyond hygiene, these spaces also served as art galleries, giving people a chance to admire beautiful artwork while unwinding after a long day. Historians still debate whether Roman bathhouses were officially part of Rome's heat combat strategy. While their hygienic function is clear, the presence of cool water and relaxing steam rooms undoubtedly made them a vital resource for reducing heat-related stress. These architectural marvels. Summer in the Roman Empire wasn't just a season of vibrant social activity. It was also a time when the stark divide between social classes became especially visible. Each group faced the summer heat in vastly different ways, and this divide created both privileges and hardships unique to each class. From nobles living in luxurious villas to the poor and enslaved laboring outdoors under the scorching sun, every group had its own strategies for enduring the heat and staying alive. For the Roman aristocracy, summer was a time to escape the stifling conditions of the city. Wealthy citizens often owned spacious villas in the countryside or in cooler regions like the mountains or along the coast, where temperatures were more bearable than in the city. These villas were more than just retreats from the heat. They were spaces for relaxation and recharging after busy months. The villas were specially designed to withstand high temperatures, with large gardens, cool pools, and efficient irrigation systems that kept the greenery lush and the environment refreshing. summer was also the perfect time for the elite to host lavish parties. These events often lasted well into the night, when the temperature had dropped and the air became pleasant. Gourmet meals, fine wine, and entertainment such as dancing, music, and even intellectual games were all part of the festivities held in the vast spaces of their villas. This was how the wealthy avoided the summer heat, while still showcasing their elegance and power. However, not everyone could enjoy such luxury. For the poor and enslaved, summer was a genuine struggle. These individuals couldn't flee to luxurious countryside estates. They lived in small, cramped homes in the heart of the city. These homes lacked ventilation or shade, forcing residents to endure the brutal heat all day long. To cope, they often sought shaded spots under colonnades in city squares, or even used public facilities like bathhouses to cool down. Outdoor laborers, especially farmers and craftsmen, had no choice but to continue working under the sun. While the wealthy could rest in the comfort of their villas, laborers had to face the harsh summer heat with little protection or convenience. Farmers worked in the fields all day, while carpenters, masons, and potters toiled in hot workshops. Their only real respite came during midday breaks when temperatures peaked, but even then work had to pause entirely. Slaves, who bore the harshest workloads in Roman society, had no say in how or when they worked. Whether in farms, construction sites, or noble households, they had to labor throughout the day under the scorching sun. They couldn't rest or seek shade, and often endured some of the most grueling conditions imaginable. This highlighted the deep inequality in how different classes dealt with summer's challenges. Another important difference was how classes managed food and drink during the hot months. The wealthy could enjoy light, refined meals including fresh fruit, grilled meats, and gourmet dishes. They could sip chilled wine or specially prepared drinks to stay cool. In contrast, the poor had to rely on simpler fare like bread, bean soup, or quick street foods. While physical solutions like bathing and building heat-resistant structures helped Romans survive the harsh summer, the important role of herbs and natural remedies in relieving discomfort caused by the heat should not be overlooked. The Romans were highly creative in their use of herbs, plants, and natural medicines, not only for treating illness, but also for cooling the body and reducing stress during the sweltering summer months. One of the most widely used herbs was mint. Mint not only had a pleasant fragrance, but also had cooling properties. Romans used mint to make teas and refreshing drinks or simply added it to water basins to create a fresh, cooling scent. It was also used as a remedy for stomach aches and indigestion, two common issues during the summer heat. Mint water was considered an excellent way to soothe the body and relieve feelings of heat exhaustion. Basil was another favorite summer herb. Not only was it used in cooking, but it was also believed to help cool the body. Romans often added basil to salads or sauces, or infused it in water to create cooling beverages. Basil was also regarded as beneficial for digestion, helping calm the stomach after heavier meals commonly eaten during summer. Parsley was a popular herb in Rome as well. Besides being a seasoning for various dishes, it was believed to have detoxifying and cooling effects. Romans used parsley in soups, salads, or simply ate it raw to help cleanse the body and ease the heat. Parsley was also used in herbal remedies to relieve stress and calm the nervous system, especially important during hot, tiring days. In addition to herbs, lemon water was a widely consumed drink in summer. Lemons were considered naturally cooling and helped relieve dehydration. Romans often mixed lemon juice with honey or sugar to create refreshing beverages. This not only helped reduce body heat, but also provided a boost of vitamin C, enhancing the immune system during the summer. Another favored natural remedy was watermelon juice. Watermelon, with its high water content, was excellent for maintaining hydration. Romans would cut watermelon into small pieces to eat fresh or press it into juice. Watermelon juice served as both a thirst quencher and a body cooler, ideal for bringing down body temperature during intense summer days. Beyond using herbs and natural foods, the Romans developed traditional healing practices to address common summer ailments like heat stroke and dehydration. One common method was bathing in cold water to cool down an overheated body. They also used herbal ointments made from chamomile, lavender, and rosemary to soothe sunburn and reduce skin inflammation after sun exposure. Interestingly, the Romans also made use of ice to cool their bodies. Although they lacked modern air conditioning, they harvested natural ice from mountain regions, or had it transported from cooler climates. The ice was stored in ice houses or stone basins for later use. It was used to chill drinks, create frozen treats, and even relieve thirst on extremely hot days. In addition to cooling methods, nutrition played a key role in maintaining overall health. Summer was the season when the freshest produce was available, so Romans consumed large amounts of fruits and vegetables to keep their bodies nourished and hydrated. Light and easy-to-digest meals like vegetable soups, fruit salads, and fresh bread. Summer in the Roman Empire was not only a challenge for the working class, but also an opportunity for the nobility to escape the heat of the city and indulge in luxurious retreats. While the poor struggled under the scorching sun, the upper class could avoid such hardships by relocating to cooler regions or relaxing at their spacious villas. These villas were often built in the countryside, where the climate was more pleasant, or in seaside and mountain resorts known for their cooler air and beautiful natural landscapes. Roman aristocratic villas were specifically designed to serve as summer retreats. They were typically located in cooler areas like the mountains or along the coast, far from the stifling heat of Rome. These villas were equipped with all kinds of high-end amenities, from expansive gardens and cool swimming pools to bathhouses and natural hot springs, creating the ideal space for rest and rejuvenation. One distinctive feature of these villas was the presence of lush gardens and water features. The Roman elite placed great importance on creating large garden spaces surrounding their villas, filled with fruit trees, flowers, and even flowing streams. These gardens not only provided a cooler atmosphere, but also offered a place to relax and enjoy the natural scenery. The villa's pools and water features provided a perfect spot to unwind, swim, or simply rest in the shade of the trees. These summer retreats were also a time for the Roman nobility to display their wealth and status. They would invite friends and family to lavish parties, typically held in the evening when temperatures were cooler. These gatherings were carefully planned, featuring rich meals, fine wine, and artistic entertainment such as music, dancing, and poetry recitals. Roman aristocrats paid close attention to creating a luxurious and comfortable atmosphere where they could enjoy life, far removed from the stress of work and society. However, these retreats were not just about extravagance. They also served important social functions. They offered opportunities for noble families to gather, socialize, and strengthen their social networks. The parties were more than just entertainment. They were occasions for nobles to showcase their elegance and authority through food, conversation, and performance. These events often lasted well into the night, filled with liveliness as well as relaxation and enjoyment. In addition to parties and festivals, summer retreats were also a time for the nobility to engage in recreational sports. One of the most favored was horse racing, a sport highly cherished by the upper class. Nobles took part in horse races not only for fun, but also to demonstrate bravery and skill in handling powerful racehorses. These races were typically held within the vast grounds of the villa or in specially designated aristocratic sporting areas. Besides horse racing, nobles enjoyed outdoor sports such as archery, hunting, and ball games. These activities, as the Roman Empire expanded its territory, it didn't just conquer resource-rich lands, it also had to face the harsh challenges of various climates, particularly the intense heat of regions like Egypt, North Africa, and the Middle East. Spanning from the cooler areas of Europe to the arid deserts of the South, dealing with summer heat became a vital part of Rome's survival strategy. While the Romans excelled at building and managing large cities with efficient water supply and cooling systems, they also had to learn how to cope in harsher climates that lacked such conveniences. One of the most significant regions where the Roman Empire had to battle the heat was Egypt, one of Rome's most renowned provinces. Although Egypt boasted an ancient culture and rich natural resources, the unforgiving heat of the Sahara Desert posed a major challenge. Summer temperatures could rise above 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and one of Rome's key strategies was to build cities near major water sources, especially the Nile River, to supply water for both daily life and agriculture. The Nile played an essential role in sustaining life in Egypt, allowing farmers to grow wheat and other crops while reducing the desert's aridity. A defining feature of Roman cities in Egypt was their specialized architecture designed to combat the heat. Large structures such as temples, palaces, and public buildings were designed to take full advantage of the cool breezes from the Nile. Thick walls, high ceilings, and small windows helped reduce direct sunlight and maintain cooler indoor temperatures. Aqueducts and canal systems were also built to bring clean water to cities while cooling the air as water flowed through populated areas. Beyond Egypt, North Africa was another region where the Roman Empire contended with extreme heat. Territories like modern-day Tunisia and Algeria featured dry climates with summer temperatures that could exceed tolerable limits. Nevertheless, the Romans built major cities such as Carthage, where buildings included ventilation systems and were constructed from lighter materials to withstand the heat. They also employed strategies like maintaining shaded city gardens with trees that offered shelter from the sun and created peaceful spots for rest. Another important method for dealing with tropical heat was developing robust trade networks to transport essential goods from cooler regions to hotter ones. The Roman Empire's trade infrastructure was highly advanced, with a vast network of roads and waterways used to transport materials such as timber, stone, food, and water from northern Europe and Asia to the hot southern territories like southern Europe and North Africa. This helped the empire sustain life and continue developing even in some of the most inhospitable climates. The Romans also placed great emphasis on using herbs and natural remedies to make life in hot regions more bearable. Herbs like mint, basil, and parsley were widely cultivated and used in food and drinks to cool the body. Romans living in hot climates such as North Africa and Egypt learned how to combine these herbs with fresh produce to stay healthy during the summer. In addition, you sleep deeply, dreamlessly, as if your body has finally decided it's done with metaphors. When you wake, the world feels ordinary again, which is to say, miraculous. The sky is pale. The ground is dry. There's bread waiting on the table, and no one knocks on your door. Not with herbs, not with holy bones, not even with a toad. For once, nothing hurts. You rise slowly, not from weakness, but from peace. Your muscles stretch like a cat's. Your breath is full and even. You run your fingers along your forearm. No bandage, just skin. Healing. You are whole, or close enough to it. Outside, the village is alive, not in celebration, but in rhythm. The blacksmith hammers gently. A girl leads a goat with a ribbon tied to its horn. A pot of stew simmers on someone's window ledge. You walk the same path you've walked 100 times now, but today it feels new. At the chapel, Brother Thomas is planting mint in the garden. He waves. At the healer's tent, the apprentice is cleaning tools, not urgently, but almost lazily. Even the plague doctor, when you see him at a distance, seems softer in the morning light. He nods at you. No summons this time, just respect. You wander through the familiar spots. The astrologer's door is closed. The dog from the hospital lies in a patch of sun. You sit beside it. It doesn't move, just lets you share the warmth. There's no ceremony for being healed in this world. No banner, no final prayer. You're simply not sick anymore. But you remember. You remember the barber's chair, the smell of rosemary and rust, the weight of the toad, the sting of vinegar, the lullabies hummed by strangers, the kindness of quiet. You carry them now, not as burdens but as threads, woven into you. You walk home slowly, fingers brushing the herbs that line the fences, the stone walls, the window sills. You no longer need them, but you thank them all the same. At your door, there's a bundle of wildflowers. No note. You place them in a jar and set them near the fire. And that night, you sleep. Not because you're exhausted, not because you're recovering, but because your body remembers what it feels like to rest. No dreams, just stillness, just peace.